A fan of the Monday Movie Club. This week we're back to the Franken list with the number six entry, which we haven't seen yet, Psycho from 1960. I'm Frank Gaffney. With us, Psycho Gaffney. With us, as always, Joel Fenster, not wearing a Psycho shirt, no Psycho thing in the
It
background.
is.
What's
I've
that?
got the movie in 4K. Got a
Okay,
documentary. I got a box set with the sequels. There's plenty of FICO stuff here.
sequels, yeah. Mark Wotis Gardner has the picture up. I think that's a picture of him when he was 18. And
He wishes he looked that
Cringe, oh,
hot.
Cringer and Goldfuck. Cringer sleepy there. Annie King back in the kitchen,
Where she
traveling,
belongs.
traveling where she belongs, traveling to Florida this week, right?
Yes.
I'm heading to Jamestown. Okay. Hey, Frank, why Psycho? I think I already said why. Because we're watching all of the Franken list.
Is Wizard of Oz on your Franken list?
It is indeed.
Okay.
Not this year, but it is.
Maybe next year. All right, good.
Well, because we decided that 10 vintage movies was not a good look for this group. So we only did five and then five newer movies. Okay, here's the plot. Phoenix Secretary Marion Crane, played by Janet Leigh, is on the lam after stealing $40,000 from her employer to run away to her boyfriend Sam Loomis, played by John Gavin. She's overcome by exhaustion during a heavy rainstorm. Traveling on the back roads to avoid the police, she stops for the night at a ramshackle Bates Motel and meets the polite but highly strung proprietor Norman Bates, played by Anthony Perkins, a young man with an interest in taxidermy and a difficult relationship with his mother. That's what it says. I thought that was funny. But what's even funnier, it didn't even mention Alfred Hitchcock. Hello. He's the most important thing. All right, this was the review I wrote in 2018 when it was first part of the Franken list. This is the granddaddy of slasher films. Paramount initially wanted no part of this repulsive project and begrudgingly granted a green light to a paltry $780,000 budget, a 30-day shooting schedule, and only TV backlots to work on. Hitchcock added his own money and cut his salary in exchange for 60% of the profits, and it was his highest grossing film, and he earned $15 million.
Wow.
And there was that whole thing, right, Joel, where they wouldn't let people in. Because back in the day, people would just show up at the movie whenever. They didn't care what time it started. They would just come in the middle. They didn't care.
Yeah.
But Alfred Hitchcock insisted that nobody could enter
Once the film started. Yep.
once the film started. So that became a thing.
Hmm.
Okay. And granted, 65 years since this movie was released certainly makes Psycho look rather quaint. And the story of the maladjusted Norman Bates, who is played perfectly.
Yes.
Look at that picture. Boyish and sympathetic Anthony Perkins, a chilling and memorable turn. And yeah, obviously he has mommy issues. And it would pale in comparison, obviously, to the movies of today. And Janet Leigh, the original Scream Queen, is steely yet vulnerable. Her nerves resolve, and that mischievous smile established Marion Crane as someone we're rooting for. And when these two collide, movie history was made. Much has been said about that shower scene. Janet Leigh claimed to have never showered again. I mean, that's a good narrative. I doubt it sincerely. And it's still, that montage is still a breathtaking, game changing montage. And yes, that's chocolate syrup. Visual.
Yes.
It's such a breathtaking, game-changing montage. It has its own documentary. And I don't mean like a 5
Just on that, yes, just on that 45 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the rest of the film really holds up. I mean, and so this is the fifth and final time Hitch was nominated for an Oscar for Best Director, but he never won. But he does have an Oscar because he produced Rebecca, which won Best Picture in 1940. So by default, he won an Oscar. And Hitch said himself that he hated the infamous psychiatrist explanation at the end by Simon Oakland. That 5 minutes is so horrible. That's where the fast forward button is your best friend. But the last bit again with him in the room, that picture right there is amazing. So I'm going to keep all of my observations so you kids could have something to say, and then I'll interject as they come up. How's that? So
Sure.
then I'm always like every week it's like, oh, I was gonna say that. Oh, I was gonna say that. Oh, I was gonna say that. So now you can say that. And whichever ones you don't cover, I'll come back to. How's that? All right. So now has everybody seen this before today?
Yes.
Yeah.
No.
Yes, only
Annie.
because I decided to watch it last year.
Right. So Annie, you've
first
never
time.
seen it. So
Nope.
this is a very interesting thing because we've seen it. We knew what was going to happen, so we knew certain things were going to happen. So from your perspective, did you think that the mother was still alive?
No.
Or did you already know she
You
was
must have
dead?
been, it must have been ruined by all. You must have known.
Yeah, I can't imagine it wasn't ruined for you.
By
Well,
years and years.
Yeah, but also like I watch a lot of like Criminal Minds and stuff. So
Yeah.
I could kind of anticipate what was
You
going to
were
happen.
like, oh yeah, this is happening.
Yeah. So I'm sure they stole it from this, kind of thing. But I think it's been that long since this came out that there's been some version of it and some, you know,
Yeah. So
every
no surprise for you.
No, not really. Yeah. So I think with all the hype and everything, and I'm not a slasher movie, so I was a little like, oh, I don't know if I want to watch
But it was
this.
pretty tame compared to
It
Slasher.
was. And
I
I
would
was like,
never have even called this a slasher movie.
No,
yeah.
at
So
the time passed.
Yeah.
yeah. So I was like, oh, that wasn't so bad at all.
Yeah.
I
But
could
back in 1960, pretty shocking.
Yes.
yeah. So yes, for me, I thought they were really good. The acting was great. Anthony Perkins.
Except for John Gavin, who was terrible.
Who is he?
He
Sam.
was Sam, the boyfriend.
Oh,
Oh,
no.
He
but
wasn't
he's
bad.
so cute.
Oh my God,
Oh
he's
my
so
God.
cute, but he was terrible.
He was almost
not-
James
he-
Bond.
He is
Wow.
pretty though. He is pretty though, but
Wow.
acting not so much.
Yeah. So and I liked it in the black and white. I thought it was really cool. And I'm sure back in, when it was released, it was, the shots and the scenes and everything. I thought those were done really well. I don't have notes.
Yeah, I mean they had to do black and white because that amount of blood would have been gross to people.
Well, it was mostly gross to Hitchcock. Hitchcock didn't want to shoot it in color because he felt it would be too, grotesque. So
Yeah.
right.
And it was cheaper in black and white.
Okay.
No, true.
Okay.
Yeah, I was kind of bummed that the $40,000 sank to the bottom of the.
I know.
Wait, I looked up the
What a waste.
inflation calculator, and
Yes.
that would
Yeah, we all
amount
did,
to-
right?
Right, $434,000.
Yeah, everything was
So-
like 10 times.
So the,
times.
the remake was only off by, because it's $400,000 in the remake, so
Yeah,
off by a little bit.
I mean, who would carry that amount of cash?
But that
with them?
remake was 10 years ago, Joel. So if
Yeah,
you
I
go
know.
back-
So sure, it's more inflation.
Yeah.
Who would carry all that cash with them? That's craziness.
Oh, I have notes on that. I have a lot of notes. It's horrible.
All right,
Yeah.
go on.
And
That was
why
a
would
scary-
it just be like sitting in her bag? Like, I love the
Yes.
part where, like, when the cop pulls her over and she like turns and like takes
It
it
was
Yeah.
out.
horrible.
Yeah, she needed a bigger bag with a better closure. That's
Yeah.
what she needed.
But you got to
I'm like-
remember, it was the late 50s when they shot this movie. This was a better place. We were great then. Nobody would steal from anybody. You could walk
No.
around with that much cash and not worry
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
That was pretty funny.
And to just up and buy a new car when the cop is standing right there.
Right? That's some balls there, right there, girl.
Yeah. I was
Worst
like,
I don't-
criminal
And it
ever.
was funny to me that the used cars already had plates on them.
Yeah, that was
That's not a
weird.
thing now.
Right,
right?
but
That
you
was
could
saving
just
time.
You couldn't
walk
get a
in,
thing now.
hand over your $700 and drive off.
There
in
you
a
go.
car. Yeah.
That's
That's it.
exactly what she did because she was in and out and like, sign this thing,
Yeah.
go. You're done.
Yeah.
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 And the thing, right as she entered, it said cars for cash. And she had plenty of it.
And
Good.
handing someone $100 in today's world would be a little bit questionable. Back
Right.
then, that was huge.
'Cause it was
And they were-
$7,000 too.
Yeah.
And they were probably in sequence, I bet.
Yeah, you're right.
I don't think, though, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think
You're
that
wrong.
I don't think she realized that the cop was there.
Correct.
Oh no, she looked at him.
Yeah,
She
no, she
did.
knew the cop
She
was
definitely
there.
looked at him.
She
Yeah.
knew the cop was
Yeah.
there.
She didn't know
She was
at
like,
first,
I gotta
but
go because the cop is
She's
right
not-
across the street.
He was across the street. He stood there for a while on his own before she realized it, but she saw him.
Yeah, I mean, it was a
Yeah.
while. She was already deep into this.
right.
And she was acting so suspicious. I was the
Yeah.
cop would be like, I think you need to come with me.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. And I also like the part where she's like thinking all this dialogue in
Yes.
her head.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was great that we didn't have to see it.
Yeah.
I'm like, is this really happening or is she imagining this? Like, this is what's happening. So I'm assuming it is what happened. She just imagined it exactly how it happened. I'm crossing it off.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I'm gonna stop and give other people their share. So
All right. So
Um,
you're gonna say 3 point what?
that's it.
3.
2.0.
Ay, ay, ay. All right, fine.
Funny.
All right. So Mark, you obviously liked it. You had seen it before?
Yeah, this is my third time.
Okay.
But 3 times over. The first time was when I was a teenager. Second time was close to 20 years ago. So it was definitely, I knew the big parts, but I was still surprised by several of the dialogue and so forth. And I went to go put up the iconic picture of Janet Leigh screaming, but I saw this picture and I thought he was perfect in this, and he played the perfect man-child, whatever you want to call it. We were both saying that, so I put him up instead. So congratulations, Anthony Perkins. I
His
was
one and only great role.
yeah. I looked up stuff and I was like, he must have done some other stuff, and he did a lot of crap. He was busy,
Yeah.
but all
Yeah,
crap.
he did a lot of crap, but he was actually really great in all the crap he did. So
Fine, but my God, like how could I would have thought he would have done much better.
He was typecast.
Yeah, after this, yeah. So nice, so clean cut, and such
Yeah.
a pervert.
And it's funny because I remember watching this again. I was a teenager when I was a kid, so I remember him being old. And watching it, I was like, "Wow, he looks so young!" And look, he was 28 years old. I was like, so it really is a different perspective watching it at 50. I was absolutely screaming at the screen with Janet Leigh putting the 40 grand on top of a purse. Worst thief ever. I had so many problems with that. Of how do you not? I would have had some in the trunk, some in my shoes, some here, some there. She like Andy, you just said too, like just turning around. It was, and then when she just like it was hanging out, just hanging out. I don't know how you do that. Even if you're not an accomplished thief, you must know better than just walking around with it hanging out of your purse. Anyway,
Well, once you got to the hotel room, it's just like, I'll put it here. No, maybe here. No, I'll just wrap it in the
Yeah.
newspaper.
It was so weird to wrap it in the newspaper and just leave it there.
Yes,
Yeah.
and that was one
Nobody
of the
would
few-
think to look there.
Yeah.
That was one of the few parts I actually remembered. I remembered that the detail of her putting it in there. I did not
And
remember.
then he picked up the newspaper so perfectly that none of it fell out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And didn't notice how heavy it was.
Yeah, he's like, what's in
True.
here? This is more than a paper.
It was nice to see that Janet Leigh was not just a weak, vapid woman in 1960, considering the
Yeah.
time.
Well, I
think
mean,
it was-
she was a pretty big star at the time, and offing her after an hour was a pretty unprecedented thing.
I can imagine. Yeah,
So
it was almost
pretty
like two movies.
It was
It,
pretty
like,
shocking.
It ended like that, and then it was
Yeah.
yeah.
It was pretty shocking.
Question for you guys: how did this do in the box office? Although I think you already answered that, Frank.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
didn't know. I would have thought it would have failed because the violence and having a guy dress up as a woman at the time. I thought people would have gone a little bonkers over that. No.
No,
Nope.
they loved it.
It
loved
did
it.
$40 million, which is $400 million today.
it was
Wow.
it was highly successful for a variety of reasons.
Yeah.
And
His
I'll
biggest
get into
movie.
stuff when it's
Yeah.
my
It's my turn.
And as you guys know, I'm a big fight choreography guy in movies. And what I don't normally say to you is and Danielle hears us all the time, is what I absolutely hate in movies and TV shows is when the victim gets the upper hand on the attacker, gets the knife, gets the gun, hits the guy gets knocked out, and then they walk away and drop the weapon. and I hate that
Oh
because
yeah.
9 out of 10 times, what happens? The attacker gets back up. Think of Halloween, right? Michael Myers gets up again and goes after her. She's crying in the corner. Mother knows how to finish a fight.
Ah,
When she attacked the private investigator and he falls down the stairs in that crazy sequence,
Yeah, yeah.
as soon as he lands,
iconic,
Mother is
iconic.
on top of him, stabbing him over and over again. I was rooting for her. So good for her. She knows how to finish a fight. I give him this 3.5 stars. I actually thoroughly enjoyed it.
Thoroughly enjoyed it. So
Yeah.
3.5. So, and it wasn't too torturous watching it again exactly 1 year later.
No, no, not at all. It was just funny to me that I decided to watch it last year for my first time. I
Well,
was
you're actually the reason I put it on the schedule
why?
because you mentioned something about it, and I was like, oh my goodness, we didn't see that one yet.
Oh,
Because when I went through my list, I thought we had already watched it as a group.
yeah, no.
I think the only Hitchcock we've seen as a group is Shadow of a Doubt.
Yeah.
How funny.
Which then made me watch Rear Window, but I still want to see the birds, but that's why I then watched Psycho.
Well, there's a lot of birds in this movie.
I like to see my birds alive.
And her name is Marion Crane, another bird. So she's all ready to get stuck.
This is definitely better than the birds, Amy.
Is it?
Yes, it is definitely.
Oh, I forgot. I wrote it's already.
Damn it, he's got to put it on the schedule for next year.
Well, at least Joel
No,
probably
put it on Rear
will.
Window. I want to see it. I saw that once. I remember it being great.
North by Northwest is the one I'm thinking about for next year.
Yeah, I have to see that one too.
Also great. Yeah.
It's already killing me that this entire opening scene was dubbed over. Oh, the dubbing always drives me.
Yeah.
I love how we immediately see the beautiful young ingenue as the bad guy. I remember being absolutely shocked by that when I first saw the movie. And the fact that she's only in 45 minutes. I went like that when she died. I was like, 45 minutes. You would think
Yeah.
she was the star of the movie. And I remember
Yeah.
thinking and probably saying to you, Frank, what I never knew about this movie was that it's really not a slasher. It's a whodunit. The last whole half of the movie is, trying to find the bad guy and find the
Right.
missing woman. And so to me, it was really, really interesting. And it was all so well acted. Oh my God, everybody was really good, except for Sam. I mean, he was fine. He didn't bother me. And I love Martin Balsam. I love him. Love him. The only other note I wrote was no matter how much I've ever looked forward to a shower in my life, I've never gone in, turned on the water, and pointed my head and made the O face constantly at the water. It was bizarre. It was like when you see, people in ads eating salads. They're having the best time in their life eating salad. I'm taking a shower. It was weird. But
First of all, nobody ever walks into the shower and turns it on.
oh yeah, that I
You turn
skipped
it
that
on, you
part of my
test the
note.
water,
You do that, you freeze to death.
especially in a sketchy motel in the middle of nowhere.
Right? No, you got to have it on the bottom, put your hand there, then you flip it up, you let it get cold again, yeah. But anyway, whatever. Of course, I always knew he was the mother. It's major spoiler, and I wonder how different it would have been if you really had no idea. And I think if I had no idea, I would have given it 4 stars. So I'm going to give it 3.5. I don't know if I should do 3.5 or 3 3/4 though. I'm kind of stuck. I'll do 3.6. 6.
Okay.
I know,
3.6.
Cringer. I'm ridiculous.
Right?
Ridiculous. All right. So I'm going to read the rest of my notes before Joel.
Wait, Joel has to go.
I'm going to read the rest of my notes
Frank's
before
going to read
Joel.
the rest of his notes before I go.
Okay,
Frank, why don't
here.
you read the rest of your notes before Joel goes?
I think that's a good idea.
always hit cleanup on these big movies. You know.
Yeah.
Clean up.
Exactly. He's the anchor. All right. So this is my notes while I was watching it. Some of them we already covered. I'll skip over those. So one of the first credits was pictorial consultant Saul Bass, and that's because he did the title
Okay.
sequence.
Not entirely. It's
Oh,
also
Not
because
entirely.
he storyboarded the entire shower sequence.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's if you look at his storyboards and compare it to what was actually shot, there are some differences, but he did storyboard it, so that's the other reason he got that.
Yeah, and it's always, I think it's always fun to see interesting titles right at the beginning. And then Pat Hitchcock is in the movie. Yes, that's his daughter. She's a receptionist at the place where Janet Leigh works. That other girl. And then the hotel was like, checkout is at 3 p.m. I'm like, damn, girl, they don't, now you got to get up by 10 or 11.
Yeah.
Checkout at 3. And then she mentioned that she's going to boil a steak. Ugh.
I think she said broil because I was
Yes.
like, she said broil, even though it sounded like boil.
It
She said
sounds
broil.
like boil in the original
Yeah.
film. In the remake, she says broil. So, it's the same script.
Very much sound like boil. And then, of course, the famous Hitchcock is in every one of his movies, right? Except one, I think.
There's a couple
he-
he's not in, but yeah.
And here he's right in the window when she goes to her office, 7 minutes into the movie. And when we were in film class, it was very much like he would put himself right as the plot is about to begin.
Hmm.
That's what our film director said.
No,
Like,
that's
so
bullshit.
like
I call bullshit.
that his way of directing the movie. And then when she gets to the office, there's no air conditioning except the boss's office is
Oh, yeah.
air conditioned. The
Yeah, fuck
bastard.
you.
And then when she decides to steal the money, she goes from wearing that white slip and now she's all in black.
Yeah.
So now she
Pretty good
turned into
wrong.
the bad guy. And Hitch had a very big fear of police. And that's why that police officer is wearing the sunglasses and gets that huge close up. Like, he's scary.
There were a lot of ridiculous close-ups. So I was like, Hitch, pull it back a little at times.
Well, he's pointing to it. This is important.
He was good though. I like that
And
cop.
so she's driving to meet him, right? John Gavin. And I looked it up that how far away she was. She was like 6 hours away from, where is it? Fayetteville? Fairville. 6 hour drive north from Los Angeles, where she got the car, right? Didn't she get the car in Los Angeles? Yeah.
Yes.
So that was another 6 hour drive. So then when she gets there, it's Monday morning already?
I believe so. I don't remember the timeline exactly.
But I love it when she's driving the car and she gives that smile, almost like this one.
Yeah.
Where like I'm evil. And then you see that iconic sign, Bates Motel. But all it made me think of was the TV series. Remember, Joel?
Yes.
Vera Farmiga and what's the kid's name?
Freddie Highmore.
Freddie Highmore. It's a really good show.
Yeah.
And it really is when they first got there, when they first got the hotel and the whole thing. And then by the end of the series, he ends up poisoning both of them. Spoiler alert. But when she gets to the hotel
Wait, you said both of them. Wouldn't he just poison his mother?
and her lover.
And her lover.
Yeah.
Remember, it was a murder-suicide.
Right.
Yeah. And then when she gets to the hotel, she's honking that horn like she's been waiting an hour. I'm like, you just pulled up. Calm down, woman. And how does she hear? How does she
hear that? Come
her
on.
mother and Norman yelling?
Yeah,
at-
yeah,
How
yeah.
loud are they yelling? That house is pretty far away. He says, a boy's best friend is his mother. Then he kills her. All right. And then, she's going to go back to Phoenix. Why she changes her mind? And he knows she's lying because then he sees the name and the thing. Ugh. He's so sinister. But then we get to the Vera Miles is her sister, and her wig was ridiculous. Why was she wearing that stupid wig? Anybody? Martin Balsam, another huge close-up because he's the law. Who's gonna find out? That's what I was gonna Annie when you said they say the mother's dead. She's been buried for 10 years. I was like, Annie, did you think that the mother was dead and alive at the same time?
No.
And then there was a big close-up of Anthony Perkins walking up the staircase, and he was swishing to beat the band. His butt was like,
Yes.
I'm like, girl, take the stairs. And you said about mother could do the fight fine. I thought you were going to say about when he hit John Gavin in the head and John Gavin fell on the floor. I'm like, that was so awkward. No way he could knock him out just by going, oh, you're dead.
Wait, who's John Gavin?
Sam, the boyfriend, when he was tussling
Oh,
with.
yeah, that was
I'm
bad.
like, that was lame.
Yeah.
And of course, Vera Miles turning around the chair and Mom Skeleton. I'm sure the audiences screamed when they saw that.
Yeah.
That was great. Such a great moment. But Anthony Perkins trying to get that wig off.
Yeah.
So you could see that it was him. He's like, get it off. I can't do it. So forth. And the psychiatrist bit is ridiculous. It really is. But I'm sure it was the studio saying, we can't just let him go. We have to explain this to people.
Yeah, it didn't bother me at all. And it didn't
I
seem
appreciated
wrong.
him. I appreciated the voiceover of Mother saying, "I'm not even gonna kill the fly to whatever."
Yeah, no, that
Yeah.
part is great.
Yeah.
But him explaining why, the whole transvestite thing and everything, I'm like, I
Does
don't,
it make does it make it more impressive if you knew that the actor did that in one take?
yeah, brilliant. I love it. I love it. But anyway, well, this one is definitely a 4-star movie. No doubt about it. It's a masterpiece. And even Netflix says it when it said the little thing. It said, this masterpiece by Alfred Hitchcock. Masterpiece. So if Netflix says it's a masterpiece, it's got to be
That's
true.
that's like Disney saying, "Oh, it's their classic,"
Animated classic. Joel,
Yes,
now this is based on a book.
yes.
I'm sure you read it. A
I did.
novel by John Block. What's the comparison?
Or Robert Bloch, but that's okay.
Oh, did I write John Block? Okay, Robert Bloch wrote a novel.
Yes. It is.
How is this?
The book is similar but different in the sense that Norman is the book starts with it's not divided the way the movie is. It's more linear with Norman's story. Norman's also not pictured the way Anthony Perkins would be described. He's, middle-aged, short, balding, pudgy, so
I could play that part.
you could have played the part.
Frank,
It's not a
And
great
I wouldn't consider myself pudgy either.
Yeah, no, but it's not a great book. It's not a bad book. There are some interesting differences. He actually cuts Marion's head off in the shower.
Lovely.
So little details like that. But it was a fun read when I read it back in college. It's not something I think it was even a book I took out of the library. I don't have it in my own personal collection. It's just kind of okay. The movie Hitchcock improved not just Hitchcock, but Hitchcock and Joseph Sargent and
But Hitch was also very instrumental in developing the script.
Yes and no. Hitchcock would get involved to an extent, but Joseph Sargent, who wrote the finished screenplay, is on record as saying, he would ask Hitch questions about the story and be like, "Whatever you want to do, Joe." So, a lot of what you see,
you're the writer, right?
Yeah, is specifically the structure of the film. While it might have been Hitchcock's idea to bring in, let's have a major movie star playing, Marion Crane and kill her off 45 minutes into the movie, really
big shocked
the audience.
Well, I just thought the other camera movement that was so amazing is when he goes up the stairs, it goes to the door and it goes to the ceiling, and then we're looking down as he carries Mother out of the room.
Yeah.
I'm like, how beautiful is that? Then we're not looking head on. We don't know that it's not really a person, and it's such a beautiful way to just fool us, really, to thinking that she is still alive.
And honestly, at the end of the day, that's all Hitchcock was ever concerned about is what is the audience reaction going to be?
Right.
That's he was a master manipulator because that's what he wanted to do. He wanted to get reactions out of his audience.
Right.
And in 1960, making Psycho the way he did, he had the perfect storm to get the audience to react exactly the way he wanted to. But he wasn't sure if this was going to work until, they were well into editing and had actually started screening the film for people in the industry. Right. There was a point where they were talking about taking the movie, toning down whatever violence is in there and releasing it as 2 parts of an episode of Alfred Hitchcock Presents, because it would have fit in. It's in black and white. It's shot by the same crew,
Right.
But
and did not run the risk of, like today, people getting ahead of the story.
Correct.
I don't at the time, I'm sure nobody thought, oh, the mother's not really alive.
No, I mean, unless you had tracked down a copy of the novel and read it, and I'm sure the novel was not that,
Popular.
popular at the time. It
Yeah.
became popular after the fact. You know, it all of Hitchcock's films to me they're onions. You watch them and you're just peeling layers back and
And
discovering
crying the whole time.
and crying the whole time.
Which number movie is this of Hitchcock?
I believe it's 50. It's a 47.
But it really does come after a great string of films.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
this
I
is
mean-
like the fifth or sixth.
Wait, how many movies did he
masterpiece,
do
really.
then?
I think he did 54 total or 52 total. Yeah. He was still working up till the day he died. I mean, he was working on another potential film when he passed away. So,
And when did he die?
1980.
Yeah, but nothing came after this that was as good as this.
No, again, with Hitchcock, there's no bad Hitchcock. There's just less interesting Hitchcock.
Yeah.
And, his films after this are not as almost perfect as
Right. Yeah, The Birds,
The Birds is fun. Topaz.
Frenzy. meh.
Topaz is probably the worst of the bunch. Frenzy tries to, get back into this game and does it, in a more graphic way, but
Yeah.
it's in color. It's got a different feel to
And
it.
family plot is just silly.
Yeah, well, what it's supposed to be. It's a black comedy.
Where is Rear Window in the rankings? Because I remember really liking that one.
Yeah.
In the rankings, Frank's rankings, I couldn't tell you.
My
Just in
ranking?
general, when people say
That would be the
like,
third most.
if Psycho is number one,
It
In
is
his
number one.
rankings, in Hitchcock's rankings, he's saying.
the rankings of Hitchcock movies. When
Yeah.
people say, well, you got to say Psycho is number one, is Rear Window number two?
Well, it depends on, again, it also depends
Vertigo
on
is
how you,
number two.
it depends on what you're talking about. Because some people would say Vertigo would be number one and Psycho would be number two. And
Well, according to the Franken list,
yes, Psycho,
Psycho, then Vertigo,
then Vertigo,
Rear
then Rear
Then
Window.
Rear
I've seen High Anxiety, so I'm not going to watch Vertigo. I feel like everybody's seen it.
You have actually.
Yeah.
Anxiety. It's you that I blame.
Yeah.
Anyway, Joel, how many
Anyway.
stars?
Yeah. All I'm going to say is this: I went into.
No, I don't have to ask Joel his star. It's 4 stars. I don't have to ask.
Actually, no.
Shut up.
3.9 because of the psychiatrist's speech.
Yeah, I'd have to say the same thing. I'd have to say the same thing. We don't need that explanation. Sorry.
It's funny because I going into this I watched Psycho. I watched Hitchcock's version. I watched it with the audio commentary that's on the disc. There's a 90-minute making of. I watched
Who was the audio commentary?
Stephen Rebello, who is he wrote a book called Alfred Hitchcock and the Making of Psycho, which was made into a movie with Anthony Hopkins as Alfred Hitchcock called Hitchcock.
Yeah.
Very interesting audio commentary. There's 90-minute making of. I watched that. I listened to the Alfred
Boy, you
Hitchcock.
had nothing but time this week.
I had time. I needed to get my brain off of
The
other.
parents are gone.
No, they're here till October. I listened to Hitchcock and Truffaut talk about Psycho because Francois Truffaut
Yeah,
did an entire
that's a great
series of
interview.
interviews with
That's a
Hitchcock.
great interview.
And then I watched 7852, which is a documentary about the shower scene. And then I watched.
Why is it called 7852?
There are 78 pieces of film that make up that entire shower scene.
52 second.
52
shower
seconds. Yep. And it is a truly wonderful piece of documentary filmmaking that really gets into not just the nuts and bolts of the scene itself, but the zeitgeist of what was going on in America at the time to make the audiences accept something like this.
Who edited that sequence?
I should know who the editor is off the top of my head.
Nice. No love for the editor.
There's not no
But
love.
again,
That's
also
anyway.
pretty out there because she looks naked.
Yep.
The knife does look like it kind of goes to her skin.
There is if you slow it down
You
and
see
break it
side
apart,
boob.
there is one shot in the sequence that looks like the knife is actually entering.
It does. It does.
The reason it looks like that is because the body double who did the scene what she said was Hitch had a prop knife that was filled with blood, and what they did is they put it up against her stomach and pulled it out, and the blood would drip down,
Ah,
and then they reversed it.
nice.
Yeah,
So
smart.
you don't actually see it
Yeah.
go into her. It's kind of coming out of her in that reality, but it's so
Even
fast.
that very first moment with the shower curtain, you're like, oh,
Yeah.
that girl's naked.
Yeah.
But not one nipple the entire
Nope.
time.
You don't see anything.
Yeah. It's the
and-
imagination.
Yeah, your brain is putting everything together based on everything that they put into that scene,
Yeah.
and it's
Beautiful.
truly a work of art in and of itself.
Oh, so the editor was named Art.
Yes, that's
It's a work of art.
yeah. And then I watched the remake because I hadn't seen it in a while, and I wanted to see if it was as bad as I remembered, and it's not. There's things I liked about it.
There was nothing I liked about it.
It's an experiment. Gus Van Sant said it was an experiment. It's
Yeah,
a
that somebody
failed
paid
experiment.
him. That somebody
Yeah.
paid him to do it is pretty amazing.
Yeah, and it failed. But there are some interesting bits within that failure that
And it's in color.
it's the color throws everything off.
It
Because
does.
you don't get things like in the original version, and you mentioned this. At the beginning of the film, she's in a white bra and a white slip, and then she's in a black
Right.
bra and a black slip, and you're seeing that change in her character just based
Right.
on that. Anne Hesh is wearing like some sort of peachy combination of underwear, and then it's like a more orange, and it's like that it ruins that whole
You moved the point.
thematic.
Missed
Yeah.
the point there.
Although admittedly, the one thing they did that Hitchcock wanted to do and couldn't at the time is that the opening sequence where it's all those dissolves getting closer and closer into the hotel window. He wanted to do a helicopter shot that dollied in, and they couldn't do it because of the technology at the time. It would have been too expensive. And but Gus Van Sant does that, and it's beautiful. But anyway, I'm sure there's other things I'd say, but it's all
Okay, 3.9 from Joel. I'm going to change mine to 3.9. I agree with Joel that and that psychiatrist scene really is the detractor.
And
Anyway.
again, sorry, in the remake, that's something they cut down. It's not like, interminable. So
I thought it was a shot for shot remake.
it's not. There are
Okay,
100 differences between those two movies.
Somebody sat and figured that
Yes,
out.
they
Okay.
did.
Okay, so you can watch Psycho on Netflix. I don't know if the remake is there, but there were some sequels and stuff. Wasn't really paying attention.
There, just so you know, all right, let's tell our viewer there are
How many sequels?
There are 3 official sequels: Psycho 2,
Right.
Psycho 3, Psycho 4: The Beginning. All of them star Anthony Perkins,
Anthony Hopkins playing Hitch.
Anthony Perkins. Vera Miles actually returns for Psycho 2 as Lila. And then
Does
there
she
was
wear the same stupid wig?
probably, it's been a while since I've seen it. I didn't watch them for this viewing.
Was she
And
pregnant at the time? I think I remember.
yes, she was pregnant at the time. Well, she was pregnant before Psycho because she was supposed to be in
That other movie
there was another Hitchcock
right before it.
he wrote specifically for
For
her.
her, Vertigo.
Yeah, Vertigo. Yeah, Vertigo.
Yeah.
Vertigo's 2 movies before, but anyway, she got pregnant during and couldn't do Vertigo because she was looking forward to having a big career because Hitchcock was going to really launch her into the stratosphere.
Right.
Happened, but there's also a TV movie called Bates Motel, no relation to the TV series, that was kind of like a pilot for an anthology series that went
Different murders every week.
different murders, different stories of people visiting the Bates Motel. So they weren't all murders, but Bud.
Yeah, because Universal had it on the back lot. I remember
Yeah.
going on the tour.
Yep.
And we drove by it. So
Oh,
they were
yeah.
like, how can we use this?
Yeah.
All right.
Anyway, I'm done.
Are you done? You sure?
Yes.
Okay. You can rent it on Prime if you want to, but it definitely should be in your collection. It is in mine. Next week, Amy chose another classic, Close Encounters of the Third Kind from 1977. It's not on any streaming service. You have to rent it. But it's also in my collection. I don't know which version, though. There's so many of them.
Yeah.
Are they?
We'll discuss that next week. I'm
Great.
Frank Gaffney. go watch a movie.
And also with you.